transition discussions. Another key feature that I love to point out is our weekly opportunity alerts. Those go out to all our current and past performers, and they include various alerts from solicitation postings to topical conferences and trainings. And, during COVID especially, I heard from a lot of our small businesses that but for our opportunity alerts, they would not have been aware of some of the COVID BAs that had a very tight timeline in responding. So just a snapshot, right? But our transition and commercialization support program does everything that we can to try to help set our phase 2 performers up for success. So speaking of success, I wanted to take a minute to talk about a success story, and we'll wrap up. And then I'm going to show you a quick success video too, while you guys are coming up with some questions. But speaking of success, I included, this is one of our newer SIBRs. It's Cova Strategies. They are a small business, and they received their first directive phase 2 back in January of 2020. It was under our Information Innovation Office. It was a topic titled Composable Embedded Software. And Cova is developing a customizable toolkit that provides sensor planning and processing capability to define workloads before and during manned and unmanned missions across all processing platforms that are matrixed into one single platform. They're essentially eliminating time delay in data processing, and it's something that's easy to use and easy to scale for UAVs. But again, they received their first phase 2 in January 2020, which is not that long ago. And as an output of their first phase 2, they've already received about $280,000 in phase 3 funding from a DoD special access classified program that they are continuing to work and develop and grow this work. It's just an example. It's a small one, but I like to use this one because they just started working with us and they're already seeing a return on their investment. It's just a great example, I think, of how getting involved with SIBRs really can help lead to more and great things for companies. We do post our success stories on our website. So if you have interest, feel free to kind of take a look at them. And I will just do probably 1 or 2 more slides, I think, to wrap up. And then I'm excited to show you one of our latest success videos to really show what we do. But I'd be remiss if I didn't just hammer home a couple of things for you guys on working with DARPA, especially. The best advice that I really can give you on ways to work with DARPA, right, is to do your research. And as I mentioned on our technical office slide, right, become familiar with the issues that are facing national security and the thrust areas that are important to the tech offices at DARPA. Second, don't hesitate to contact a DARPA PM about your idea and gain insight into the topic. I mean, remember I said DARPA is a PM-centric organization. So if you understand the needs of and the problems the PM's grappling with, that's not only the key to submitting a successful proposal at DARPA, but you could also be giving them an idea. And take a look at our website. It has a lot of really helpful information, not just about DARPA, but we try to keep it updated with our SIBR and STTR programs, all the information you would want to know, we think. And I think it can be quite useful as you navigate your way into DARPA or other government agencies. And as I did mention, the last thing I want to leave you with, right, our office thrusts and our focus areas, they do shift from time to time. So that's all the more reason why it's important to kind of do your research and check our website to see where we're focused now. I will leave you with our final slide. Oh, we don't have our QR code up on this. Aaron will post somewhere our QR code where you can get our link, which will take you to all of the information that we think will be helpful for you all as you begin navigating DARPA. Before we switch over to the success story video, I did want to let you know that DARPA is actually doing 6 regional events. They're called DARPA Forward. The closest one to you all is going to be in Georgia, and I believe that is in October. They are DARPA Forward events where you can go and hear a snapshot about each one of the offices and some of the great stuff we're doing. In addition, as I told Denny, we're working on putting together some pop-ups to try to do some regional events to come in person to you all to kind of have some more intimate discussions about breaking down barriers to entry and really getting into the nitty gritty of things that you would need to really do to get your business ready to be working with the government. So check our website. There's a link on our link that will actually take you to DARPA Forward if you have interest in that. And then I think with that, Denny, if it's okay, I'd like to go ahead and show this video. Oh, Aaron posted the link. I'd like to go ahead and roll this video real quick on our most recent success that everybody can see, and then I'm happy to answer questions.
Sounds good. Let's roll it. Tim, are you able to get it up?
I think Aaron's working on putting it up right now.
Okay.
Or Tim.
You guys might need to do a program to make all this stuff easier to use, Jen. We're not hearing the sound.
Aaron, you'll have to unmute yourself in order for people to hear the sound.
We're still not hearing the sound, unfortunately.
Well, maybe while Aaron's working on that, there's already a bunch of questions. Maybe we should do some questions, then we can show the video at the end. We can figure out the sound.
Yeah, that sounds good. Look, Jennifer, I really appreciate the insights that you've given us here. And especially, I didn't realize DARPA was doing so much on helping move forward into commercialization. And I think that is something that's just been sorely missed in the whole SBIR program across the federal government. So my compliments to you on that. And also on this focus on how to engage. Could you just, I'm going to have Bob start asking all these questions in just a second, but could you just tell me what's the best way for somebody to reach out to a program manager with an idea? Is it email? Is it a call? Because frankly, a lot of our companies send an email to somebody that's listed on a BAA and they never hear back. It goes into the black hole. So for DARPA, what's the best way to reach out to a program manager?
It is actually the email. And at DARPA, we do respond. But again, as I said earlier, it's better to do it early. It's better to get involved early on before even a BAA comes out. Start identifying program managers that are in your area of interest. And if you don't see someone in your area of interest, don't fret, because there'll be new program managers in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Okay.
It's not as if it's January 1 and we roll over and we have a whole new class of program managers. Our program managers roll over on a regular basis. So we could be saying goodbye to 3 and in a month we'll have 5 new ones in. So that's why going back and checking often our website to see who's there is really most helpful.
Great. Well, thank you. Thanks for that. That's helpful. Bob, I know we have a lot of questions. Let me turn it over to you to get to some of those questions.
All right. Thank you. Great presentation, great discussions. I think the audience definitely is fired up. There's a lot of questions. First one kicks off with about requirements. I know you talked about this briefly, but how do you determine portfolio research areas, requirements, and how do they nest with national security priorities that we might see coming out of DoD, for example?
So that's a great question. So the DoD obviously has priorities that they issue that they want the agencies to focus on, but our PMs come in with the ideas, right? And at DARPA, we're not looking close in time. We're looking to what the need is 5 to 7 years out. So our PMs are kind of doing a lot of research, pulsing the community. They do lots of visits and exercises with military and whatnot to see what we think those needs are. And that's really how they kind of determine what's going to be their next seedling, SIP, or challenge, or program idea, which is where you all come in. Because if you're working on research that's groundbreaking that no one's ever thought of, it's great to reach to a program manager because you could be really giving them their idea, their next idea for something big.
Great. And that'll actually tie right into the next question about funding, and actually more so about small business. How do you kind of attract those small businesses versus the traditional prime contracts, the bigs who are always kind of present or always in the know? How do we outreach these small businesses and then make that type of funding that is worth the time and the effort to go through the process for these small businesses? In some cases, just trying to keep the lights on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So as one of the first slides, and I'm looking, I think it was my third slide, showed, we do 28% on average with small businesses. And that's not just the SBIR program. That's well beyond the SBIR program. And at DARPA, we're set up for small businesses. We need small businesses because when you're working for an agency that's taking risks, and some of those risks are going to end up as complete failures, and that there's not a there yet, we got to shelve it, but we'll go back in 2 years and maybe there is a there yet. You need those small businesses. The small businesses are the ones that are willing to take those risks. I used to say before COVID, right, if small businesses didn't take risks, they may not be there in a year or 6 months, but I think COVID's changed all that, right? These small businesses really need to be taking risks because they may not be here in a week, 2 weeks. And so knowing that, right, like they're right for doing work with DARPA because we need those innovative risk takers. So we have, I think, a pretty healthy balance of working with small businesses.
Absolutely. That's been my impression as well. Very well done. This is from an anonymous. I think it's kind of interesting, but some impressions about DARPA. And DARPA mostly funds PhDs with significant academic backgrounds, kind of more like the NSF or ARPA-E. Can you clarify maybe some of this perception and potentially myth?
So I'll go with that. I would say there's a healthy mix there. Some of what we do really does require PhD level. Like some of our basic sciences offices really does probably require PhD level work. It's not to say that there aren't people with masters and BSs that are doing it, but some of the basic sciences probably does require sort of those advanced degrees. But then there's other offices, our STO and TTO office, that I think it's a lot more of a mix between master level. And I think a great way to kind of look at that, right, is if you look at our program managers, if you look at STO and TTO, our strategic technology and our tactical technology office, and even some of our innovation, our I2O, our innovation information office, right? If you look at the PM's backgrounds, you'll see that not all of them have PhDs. And that kind of gives you an idea of sort of where we're looking for what.
Excellent. Thank you. And we've been doing a deep dive at our coffee calls. And we remember when you came on here about a year ago, and we appreciate that. But deep diving the program offices, looking at the actual SAM.gov announcements, digging into the BAAs and what types of technology. So we're definitely igniting the excitement here in North Carolina to participate in your groundbreaking work at DARPA. Given the challenges DoD and government in general has in transitioning technologies to product production, why should small businesses engage with DARPA?
I think it's because we're your first stop. I think we're your first stop. We're the ones where it's okay to not have all the answers. We're the ones that are giving you money, R&D dollars, to help you develop those prototypes. When you go on to agencies like the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, they're giving you money for research, but they're much higher TRL level. And so a lot of times small businesses just aren't ready for that yet. I will say with our SBIR program, we have not run the numbers this year, but typically small businesses that are in our SBIR program at DARPA, it could be only their first, second, or third touch point with the government. We're a great introduction to kind of working with the government, but a great introduction to kind of helping you continue to refine and develop your prototype.
Excellent. Thank you. The questions continue to pour in. Dual use technologies. We hear a lot about that today with the commercialization, what's the market share and all that. How important are dual use technologies for DARPA? And does it really matter for that idea for the war after the next?
I'd say yes and no. It's always important. It's always important, right? But we are so early stage TRL that it's just not something that we can often see, and especially depending on the office. Our defense sciences office is basically, we call that DARPA's DARPA. They are basic science. It is very hard to see where that's going to transition. We are really standing up and expanding more our commercial strategies office to really help with commercial transition. But It just sort of depends on the level of the work and the work that you're doing. Obviously, dual use really helps us preserve the investment and it helps the company continue to grow. But it really is just sort of dependent on the technology that we're developing.
Great.